And this is the 7th edition of Olly Ranks, where this time I'll be ranking the 7th season of classic Doctor Who. So a little bit about season 7. This is the first season to air in colour, and this is the first season to air in the 1970s, and of course this is the John Pertwee's first season as the third Doctor. Season 7 is also the shortest season in Doctor Who all up to this point, as the last four seasons of Classic Who were all four stories long. And all four stories are really good in this story, and it can hold up against other stories in Doctor Who and other stories in the Pertwee era. So if you're not familiar with how Olly Ranks works, I'll be ranking all four stories of season 7 from my least favorite to my favorite of this season from season 7, and I'll explain my ranking for this story. To start off, in fourth place is unfortunately The Ambassadors of Death, even though I do consider this to be a very strong story against other Pertwee stories, but in season 7 it is kind of weak. But the reason why I do find it weaker compared to other stories in this season is the length of the story. I do feel as if the plot of the story wasn't suitable for 7 episodes, but we do get some great moments. The script was great, and the acting was really good, especially from Pertwee and the other cast members. The ideas were good, especially having the so-called ambassadors of death not being the bad guys, where the main bad guy was just General Carrington, and that he was the main aggressor of this story. And he was a good villain. I would say the music was very good, and the piece of music is actually my favorite from season 7. And we definitely got some good cliffhanger moments and some great dialogue, such as the part when the Doctor was trying to talk to Van Leyden in the ship in the when Mars Probe 7 was inside that research center. I think this is the episode 2 cliffhanger. Yeah, and the Doctor was like, right, cut it open, even though we don't know the dangers of what's going on inside the space shuttle. So Ambassador of Death is an 8 out of 10. In third place is Doctor Who and the Silurians. The mature, topical and philosophical story for Doctor Who, and it really showed that Doctor Who has come far from the usual historical period of the week or planet of the week they usually have, and there's no orders and is now a thing of the past, no pun intended. And this showed us how people react during critical moments of crisis, especially when the Silurians actually wanted to take over the Earth, because they originally inhabited the Earth before, but obviously they went into hibernation, and that's how the humans took over. And obviously how the humans wanted to kind of keep everything the way it was, and wanted all the Silurians dead. And obviously the Doctor, being the pacifist he is, he thought there was a way that the humans and the Silurians can actually coexist, as neither side actually wanted that, other than Liz Shaw and the elder Silurian that was there. The story ended tragically when the Brigadier killed all the Silurians by blowing them up, and I would say the story was actually well written, very well written, very well acted, and I like how John Pertwee actually settled into being the Doctor so far, and it's great that he really settled in early. And we also had the Silurians appear for the very first time, and I would say they were very good in this story, and thank goodness we get to see more of the Silurians, but we don't actually see the Silurians again until Warriors of the Deep, but we do see their cousins, the Sea Devils, in season 9. And they had a very good debut, so I gave Doctor Who and the Silurians a 9 out of 10. Is Inferno. Inferno. I know that this is a quintessential Pertwee story and a quintessential Classic Who. I actually do agree, but even on my ranking of the overall Pertwee era, it actually comes after the story that actually comes next in this season 7 ranking. Inferno is an incredible story, and it introduces a commonplace sci-fi trope, and it does so very well, and that trope being parallel Earths and parallel alter egos. The acting in the story is incredible, and the alter egos of the characters such as the Brigadier, Liz Shaw, and other side characters made the story quite enjoyable, and you can tell they really had a good time filming this story. Inferno has some very intense moments, and that really heightened the story's interest, and how the dark themes such as whole worlds getting destroyed, especially Earth itself, was very interesting as well, and it was very scary. It's pretty much very close to home, and you definitely saw how scared the characters were. The acting was incredible. John Pertwee actually did a very good job, and we had a very good villain in Storman, and the Prime Awards. They actually weren't named in the story, but they were all quite good as well, and they were quite scary and intimidating as well. And I do think that John Pertwee's performance in this is probably one of his greatest performances as the Doctor. Sorry. So I give Inferno a 10 out of 10. And finally, in first place is Spearhead from Space. Woohoo! I actually prefer this story to Inferno, to be honest, because another post-regeneration story is in Doctor Classic Who. It's a great Doctor Who story with awesome moments and incredible acting, and this is actually number 3 in my overall ranking of the Pertwee era, with Inferno coming in number 4. It was a great start to the Pertwee era, and it's very vivid. This story is actually visually appealing because it was entirely shot on film, and it made the story look unique. And Spearhead from Space is the first Doctor Who story to air in colour, and that was a good thing, because this is pretty much shows how Doctor Who is now moving into the modern day era, or the modern day era back in the 70s, to say the least, and they were quite good. The acting was brilliant, especially from John Pertwee. Even though this was his first story, he did really good. This is also Liz Shaw did it very well, and Carolyn John did a very good job portraying Liz for the very first time. And this is also the very first appearance of the Autons. Yeah, they were quite scary here compared to Rose and the following Auton story after this story. And they were quite good, and nesting consciousness was very scary, even though it's just a squid, but it was still good. And I liked that the idea of like shop window dummies attacking people was very good as well. And we also had a good moment of that in episode 4. They were coming out of the shops in central London and just shooting up random citizens. It was very good, and it was quite scary as well. And it was good to see the Brigadier again, and now that he's in a more frequent recurring role, as we did see in other stories, and it was quite good as well. And especially during the Doctor's circumstances, now that he's stranded on Earth because of his exile, and I give Spearhead in Space a perfect 10 out of 10 as well. So to conclude, Season 7 is an iconic season. A lot of Whovians consider Season 7 to be the best classic season, and I can definitely understand why. All 4 stories are very good, even though Ambassadors of Death does bring the season down a bit, but I would say that Ambassadors is still a very strong story, and it can hold up against other stories like, let's say, Day of the Daleks or something. But compared to Inferno or Spearhead, it is slightly weak, and I would give Season 7 a 9.8 out of 10. It would have been perfect if it wasn't for Ambassadors. So my next round set of reviews, I'll be reviewing Season 8 of Classic Doctor Who, kicking off with Terror of the Autons, the first appearances of Captain Mike Yates, my favourite companion Josephine Grant, known as Joan Grant, and of course the Doctor's greatest enemy, the Master, plus the Autons' return. So thanks for watching this ranking. Let me know your thoughts of Season 7, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and till then, see you later.